Submarine friends, welcome back to watching me build my diesel electric submarine. So this morning I want to talk about something different, but before I start, check out my lights. Aren't those nice? That's about 20,000 lumen of lighting. I really like that. It's a little dark outside still, that's why they show up so good. Okay, so this morning I want to talk about the scrubber in my submarine. And I've decided to make a change. Let me just move over here. So the change is, I'm going to change the scrubber that I'm using. So this scrubber right here, I made these nice plastic brackets. I'm so proud of those. They work terrific. But I don't like this scrubber in this submarine for the way I'm going to use this submarine. So this is a deep worker scrubber. So Nudco Research in Vancouver, BC, Canada makes the Deep Worker submarine, and I owned one. And this was a spare scrubber that came with it. So they're terrific scrubbers. This thing here is good for 36 hours. So if I'm on the bottom of the lake and I'm stuck, I don't have to refill this for 36 hours. And then I have an additional 36 hours so I can stay in the submarine for 72 hours. And then this is one of many oxygen bottles that I carry, and I do it this way because I like individual bottles so I don't slowly drain down a larger tank, and these are super easy to refill from a larger tank. So anyways, that's a different topic. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch to this scrubber. So this is a scrubber that I built myself. So it started its life as a carbon filter for a greenhouse, and I removed the riveted top and I machined an aluminum top for it. Let me just pop that out and show you. So that's a thick piece of aluminum that I machined so that it replaced the original top, and I could mount a fan on it. And inside is just the filter that came with the scrubber. But you see, what I want to show you is the void right here. You see that void? This does not hold a lot of absorbent, and that's by design, because the submarine that this scrubber was built for one, was extremely tiny and didn't have room for a larger scrubber. But also, so typically my submarine friends, they build the exact same scrubber, but they're this tall, so they use the much larger filter to start with. But I use the small one because cost. Absorbent is expensive. So let's say you do a dive with this submarine or with this scrubber. So it could cost you probably $25 to fill that scrubber with absorbent. So you do your dive, you're down for an hour or two, you come back to the surface. Well, all this absorbent is only used a small percentage. So what you have to do, you can dump the material out, put it in a pail and reuse it, or you can put this. And this is what I usually do, is I just take the scrubber out, I put it in a garbage bag, and I seal it. As long as there's no airflow going through it, the absorbent lasts forever. I've had absorbent. I bought a submarine that didn't dive for 20 years, and it had all the spare absorbent in it. 20 years later, I used that absorbent. It was fine. So I know, I shouldn't say absorbent lasts forever, but I personally know for a fact, after 20 years, it still works. But anyways, so because this submarine, I'm not going to use the scrubber ever, unless it's a super weird situation or I'm stuck on the bottom. So really, this is here as an emergency life support system if I'm stuck on the bottom. And the only reason I would be stuck on the bottom is an entanglement. That's the big danger in a personal submarine. It's not hull failure. It's not running out of air. It's not running out of ways to surface because submarines have so many backups. And I get all these people teasing me about the Titan submarine and stopped and rush and all that garbage. Well, that's a whole other story. That failed because of stupidity, not because of anything else. So entanglement, that's our danger, and that's why I need life support, because I can breathe in this submarine for quite a while. So the way I'm going to use this submarine is I dive, or I cruise along with my towfish, which is my side scan sonar. The towfish is 15 feet off the bottom, and I'm just putting along. And as soon as I see a dark target, as long as it's within my diving depth range, I'm going to dive down and investigate. If it's not within range, then I either bring in my good buddy Brian, who is a mega kick-ass diver, and he either dives the target, or I bring in another submarine that can go deeper, which I have access to. So I actually have a 3,000 foot rated submarine sitting in my yard. Of course, it's all apart now, but if the target looks good enough, it can be put back together pretty quick. Anyways, so this scrubber holds too much absorbent, and it's just a pain in the butt to always have it sealed off and to protect the absorbent, and dumping it in and out is very dusty, and it's just not a road I want to go down. So all I need is a scrubber for emergencies. Now, let's say I'm stuck on the bottom in an entanglement and there's still lots of daylight left. Well, I'm not going to hang around waiting for somebody to notice I haven't come home, or try and figure out where I am, try and figure out how to rescue me. I'm just going to ditch. If I can't bring the submarine to the surface by dropping the drop weight, inflating the ballast tanks with reserve air, pumping out the variable ballast tank, if none of this works to break me free from the bottom, I'm just going to ditch. I have a flood valve in the submarine, and I'm going to make a whole other video about that. Somebody's asked me to make a video about the procedure for a ditch, and I'll do that. But I think I'll do that when I'm actually diving the sub, which could be in about 2 weeks. So this scrubber right here takes a fraction of the absorbent that this scrubber takes. So this one is going out. No big deal. It's good to have. It'll actually work beautifully in my 3,000 footer. This one is out of my 3,000 footer. So this scrubber can just mount in the same place. Actually, I'll probably tuck it in right here. Right in there, just like so, nice and neat and tidy. And I have just a simple plug like that. So the fancy scrubber from Newtco Research, it has this kind of a connector, which is a very typical standard submarine connector. It's actually an underwater connector, but they've obviously used it on the inside of the sub as well. So it just pushes together. The two little copper contacts make contact, and then this end is wired to your power source. And these scrubbers just use a computer fan. Well, I should show you how the scrubber works for those people who don't know. So a rebreather diver has pretty much the exact same thing, except, so this is actually what the rebreather scrubber looks like. So when these divers go down, they don't use tank air. They recirculate their breathing, just like I do in the submarine. So the way their scrubbers work is, just a second here, they have the fan on top, but they draw air in. They draw air in through the bottom, and it just goes through the absorbent from the bottom up, and then so that's the circulation path. But with this scrubber, I'll show you, and this one works the same way that this one does. So the fan draws air through this center, and then there's holes in screen all the way around the outside, so the air is drawn through all the way around and then drawn up through the center. And what that does is it gives contact with the media or absorbent. It fully contacts all the way around. Um, Apparently they're better. I don't know. I've actually used both, and in the submarine, both work just fine. So if you want to build a submarine and you want to put a scrubber in it, you can just draw through the bottom. I mean, I've seen scrubbers made out of wooden boxes. I mean, you can make anything as long as you're drawing air through. Um, they work. Now I've also seen scrubbers that blast air through. In fact, one of my first submarines that I bought was a Necton submarine, and it had like a truck or a school bus heater fan blowing through it. Noisy and crazy. But the idea is you want the air to have what's called dwell time. It's dwell, so it's time. So the theory is, well, not the theory, but the way it works is the absorbent needs to have time to absorb the CO2. It can't just be rushing by. That's what they say, but I've seen scrubbers where it rushes by and it still works. So, I don't know. I'm not a scrubber engineer by any means, but I do know that almost anything works. So if you need a scrubber for your submarine, then I put that on backwards. Then don't be afraid of it. It's the most simple. I mean, look how simple this is. I've seen them made out of plastic bowls with an acrylic lid. I've seen it all. But this seems to be what most of us submarine guys build when we build our own, because we can buy these carbon filters. So this is all made for us. So you can just get creative to make a new top. Now I have a lathe and I love machining, and I have all kinds of scrap aluminum and everything. So I just machined a real nice top. I bought a couple of these rubber. These are for holding down like the hood on a Jeep. So you just stretch them, put them on. It works fantastic. This thing works fantastic. Now, of course, this scrubber here also works fantastic. And I'll just pop the end off. This is kind of fancy here. It's got little latches. Now this scrubber, this is one of the first scrubbers they made, because this is from Hull 4 and 5. And I believe they use the exact same scrubber to this day in their $3 million submarines. So the way this one does it is the fan draws through this section here. So you can see this is a tunnel. And so the air gets drawn through the entire area, but not through the center, it's just through this tunnel. So it's basically the same. But again, this thing holds so much absorbent, and I don't want to worry about wasting absorbent. I can carry all kinds of absorbent in all the nooks and crannies in here. You just put your absorbent in containers. My wife is actually saving jars for me. They're really nice jars with a nice big opening. They're like, I think we get an apple cider drink or something out of these jars. So I'm going to use those and just tuck them in along the hull. Wherever there's a spot, I can just put these jars full of absorbent in, and then I'm good. So the reason I need extra absorbent is I still want to fit with the 72-hour rule, which is an American Bureau of Shipping rule, that your submarine has to have 72 hours of life support per person. Now, I'm not going to go per person. I'm just going to go 72 hours for just me. So, super easy. All I do is I carry garbage bags in here anyways. And so I just put the bag over, flip it over, dump it, and replace it. But, again, the reason besides the ABS rule is if I have to ditch and it's, an hour from dark, I'm not going to ditch in the dark. I'm not going to ditch and try and get into my inflatable boat. Normally when I'm subbing alone, I tow my inflatable boats, and the rope is slightly longer than the depth of the lake. So I can dive to the bottom. Let's say the lake is 60 feet. The lake I'm going to start out in is 60 feet deep. Well, I'll have like 70 feet or more of rope going from the sub to the, and I use the yellow polypropylene rope because it floats, so I don't have to worry about it dropping down and getting in my propeller. So I don't want to try to do a ditch in the dark, deal with getting into the inflatable, or you can do that in the dark, but then getting to shore, finding your vehicle, all that. So I want to do it in the daylight. So that's my reasoning for carrying extra absorbent besides the ABS rule. So this will need a couple of fills to get me through the night, but that's no big deal. I don't think I'll be sleeping. I'll be so worried about performing a ditch that I've never done and only know the theories. And so anyways, that's my story on the scrubber situation. Now, in my last video, I was showing you guys my backup air system, and I made a thing to mount the tank. So I'm going to show you that now. See that I've mounted this tank to this. I just cut some plastic. Now, I really didn't. I just threw it in here and then I was done for the day. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take it out and I'm going to cut the corners off so it's, so that it looks a lot nicer. So I didn't really have the room for two of these tanks comfortably. So I've got the main tank, and I picked up a ball valve so that I can isolate the tank so I don't have to worry about the air going to the wrong place. Regulator's nicely out of the way right here. I'm going to preset the regulator and then tape it shut, because you can see it would just take a bump to move the pressure. So I'm going to preset the pressure. I've got a longer hose here that I'm going to use. This hose right here, I'm going to cut these ends off. Unless, no I'm not, because they'll thread right in. So this is a hose with threaded ends, so I'm just going to use that. And then it's long, so I can take the tank out without disconnecting it unless I have to. I'll think about that. I got time to think about that. So this is just a spare oxygen bottle. I could possibly stack one more in here. But anyways, this is a spare oxygen, and then this is my backup air supply. And I actually have room for oxygen bottles and stuff in the engine compartment, because there's a ton of room under the engine, and it doesn't hurt to have stuff stored in there. So, and I've got storage space down here, and I've got storage space up front. I've got storage space all along the sides, but I want to use that for food, proper drinking water, things like that. Whenever you have a submarine with a life support system, you should carry food and water as well. I mean, if you're going to be stuck in here, you want to be comfortable. You want to have provision for going to the bathroom and eating. I mean, do you really want to be suffering while you're waiting? No. So anyways, that's my progress. So today, we're wiring in that scrubber. That one's going back on the shelf. And I'm going to fix this up. And I'm planning on throwing this thing in the water not Wednesday this week, but Wednesday next week. That's my plan. Ciao.